Welcome to all. When we look the growth and development of an individual, we can see that the development is taking place in all dimensions: physically, socially, and then cognitively. And here, the important part we may give to cognitive development, but along with cognitive development, other dimensions are also important. In today's discussion, we will concentrate on Kohlberg's theory of moral development. And this topic is part of the course BS 1-1 of B.Ed program. And in today's discussion, we will discuss about Kohlberg's theory of moral development, the stages of moral development, and the influence of Kohlberg's theory. And here, after listening to this session, you will be able to develop understanding about Kohlberg's theory of development to classify the various stages of development and to examine the influence of Kohlberg's theory. And when we look at this theory, how Kohlberg presented this moral development is in a different way. When we look, we can see that he conducted about 20 years of research in developing this moral development. This moral development is based primarily on moral reasoning and was organized into various stages and levels. And when we look at the various stages, we can see that how in-depthly Kohlberg has developed his theory. He presented a series of stories which include different kinds of dilemmas, and from the base of the respondents' answers, he has developed this theory. From the answers of the respondents gave for moral dilemmas, he hypothesized 3 levels of moral development. And each level consists of 2 stages. The key concept in understanding moral development is internalization. So if they go through one kind of dilemma, how the respondent is internalizing that particular situation, that is very important. So this internalization is an important part in Kohlberg's theory of moral development. And next one, we can see that from externally controlled behaviors, the individual moves to internally controlled by standards and principles. As I told you that he has conducted about 20 years of research and he used various dilemmas while going through each dilemma. So what type of internalization is taking place? The person will go through each situation as if it happens to him or her in the real life. So how they are going to internalize each situation and what type of responses is coming out, that is important. And here, when we look at the various stages, we can see that the levels can be divided into 3 levels, that is level 1, level 2 and level 3. Level 1 represents the pre-conventional reasoning. Level 2 represents conventional level, and the third level, that is post-conventional level. And for each level, as I stated earlier, there are 2 stages. In level 1, that is pre-conventional reasoning, there are 2 stages, the stage 1 and 2. Stage 1 is known as punishment obedience orientation, and stage 2 personal reward orientation. we will go into the details of each stage. So let us see what are the different levels and stages. In level 2, that is the conventional level, there are two stages, that is stage 3 and stage 4. Stage 3 is titled as good boy, nice girl orientation, and stage 4 is known as law and order orientation. And the next level, that is level 3, which is titled as post-conventional level, it consists of two stages, stage 5 and stage 6. Stage 5 is titled as social contract orientation, and stage 6 is titled as universal ethical principle orientation. So let us see each stage wise what is included in each level. The first level, that is the pre-conventional level. When we look at this level, it constitutes the lowest level among the three. And in this level, there is no internalization of moral values. What is determining is that the external rewards and punishments control moral reasoning. So this course, it is especially meant for the adolescent stage only. And when we look at the behavioral pattern of children in the late childhood years, we can see that how much they are concentrating upon the rewards and punishment. So, in the pre-conventional level, we can see that what is important for them is the external rewards and punishment. And in this pre-conventional level, stage 1, that is punishment, obedience, orientation. At this level, judgment is based solely on a person's own needs and perceptions. Here, right and wrong is based primarily on external circumstances. I've already told that children, when we look at the behavioral pattern, we can see they are more concerned. If they get punishment, they may have fear to repeat such type of behavior. If they get reward, they may repeat or they may get encouragement. And the next stage, that is stage 2, the personal reward orientation. At this stage, personal needs determine right and wrong, and so the conscience seems to be cunning. The behavior is determined primarily by what will earn the child a reward. Always they are thinking of some kind of reward. Based on the reward, they may repeat the behavior. And the next one, that is the second level, conventional level. What is important in this conventional level is that internalization is intermediate. So when we look at the pre-conventional level, we have seen that there no internalization is happening. Here in this level, internalization is intermediate. So intermediate level in Kohlberg's theory of moral development. So this conventional level is termed as in between the pre-conventional level and the post-conventional level. Individuals obey certain standards, that is internal, but they are framed by others. So these others, it constitute the external, such as parents or laws of society. So these standards is important, and the laws, they are always responsible to the laws framed by the adults in society. So that is happening in the conventional level. Then when we look at the conventional level, at this level, the judgment is based on others' approval. If parents approve some kind of behavior, they will get more motivation or the family's expectations, the traditional values, the laws of society, and loyalty to country. All these factors determine their actions. This level includes two stages, that is stage 3 and stage 4. Let us see what is included in stage 3. As already stated, stage 3 is titled as Good Boy, Nice Girl orientation. This stage is the stage of social approval. So one's behavior is determined by what pleases and is approved by others. So always the children will try to show the behavior, to display the behavior which pleases others. If they get punishment, they will have the fear to repeat the behavior. Individuals value trust, caring, and loyalty to others as a basis of moral judgment. So here, what is important is they need the trust of parents, the loyalty, and the caring, because they are depending upon the adults for their survival. So these three things are always covering upon them, that is the loyalty, caring, and the trust. So based on the outward circumstances, that is in the form of the rewards, they may repeat or they may repeat the behavior. Next comes stage 4, that is law and order orientation. What is important in this law and order orientation? From the title itself, we know that they are bound by some kind of laws. So here an individual is expected to respect the authority and maintain the social order. It is right to contribute to the society and fulfill social duties. Here the conscience is good citizenship. So what is important is that to become a good citizenship. For this purpose, they try to obey the social order. Then comes the third level, which is titled as post-conventional reasoning. And among the three levels, this is the highest level in Kohlberg's theory of moral development. And morality is completely internalized and is not based on others' standards. So here what is determining is that the moral development is internalizing in the minds of the individual. So the other standards or the external thing are not important in the post-conventional level. Then comes the stage 5, which is titled as social contract orientation. So here in this stage 5, this stage is the stage of social utility and individual rights. One's loyalty is towards truth. At this stage, the individual is not only aware of the social contract between others, but also of the different moral perspective of others. The conscience of this stage is reason. They are always giving importance for the reasoning ability. Then comes the stage 6, which is titled as universal ethical principle orientation. So in the post-conventional stage, we have seen the two stages, stage 5 and stage 6. The stage 6 is titled as universal ethical principle orientation. At this stage, the person has developed a moral standard based on universal human rights. And one's choices are grounded in genuine moral interest in the well-being of others, regardless of who they are. Therefore, the conscience at this stage is personal integrity. They are determined by the personal integrity. So, this is at the highest level. When the internalization has taken completely, we can see that this stage will attain at the highest level. And here, Kohlberg has stated about a dilemma situation, which is known as Haynes' dilemma. So, what is this dilemma situation is that a woman is suffering from a rare disease that is on the verge of the death. So, her husband is compelled to search for the medicine, and the medicine cost very much. He approached a medical shop for getting the medicine, but the shopkeeper is not ready to give the medicine at the nominal rate. He charged 10 times of the actual price of the medicine. So, in this situation, out of the necessity of the situation, her husband decided to steal the medicine from the shop. So, this is the dilemma situation that is given to the respondents. So, whether stealing is correct or not. So, based on this, so many responses has come, and based on the responses, he categorized the various stages. Let us see what are the responses that come in each stage. That is the pre-conventional stage, stage 1 and stage 2. In stage 1, the response is Haynes should not steal the medicine because he might be caught and punished, or Haynes won't go to prison because he was not stealing something big and more importantly. He asked for it first and was ready to pay. So, this is the first response. The second one, the stage 2, Haynes might steal the medicine to give happiness to his family at home by saving his wife. But he might get sentenced for a long term in prison, which he could not stand. So, these two stages are there. And then comes the stage 3 and stage 4, which comes under the conventional level. So, in the stage 3, the Haynes was not doing wrong. He just wanted to save his beloved wife. It was the pharmacist who overcharged. He won't get a hard punishment because the judge would look at all sides of the situation. So, this is happening at stage 4. And then at stage 4, Haynes should not have stolen because it was against the law, or if he had to steal, then he must be ready to take the punishment. Otherwise, there would be a chaos if everybody sets up everybody's own beliefs. So, these are the 4 stages. Then comes the stages which fall under the post-conventional level. The stage 5, that is, life is more important than property. And Haynes should save his wife even if he had to steal. So, let the moral and legal standpoints coincide, or Haynes should not have stolen because even though his wife was sick, it couldn't make his action right. So, this is coming at the post-conventional stage. So, here the next one, the stage 6, we can see that Haynes should steal the medicine because human life has more value than the property rights of some person, or Haynes should not have stolen because any other person might have needed the medicine more badly. So, this from the Haynes dilemma, we can see what are the levels coming about, and for each level, what type of responses is coming for each stage. So, when we look at the levels once again, we can see that the levels, the pre-conventional reasoning, the stage 1, which is the punishment obedience orientation. We have seen the response, how it is coming. Then the stage 2, the personal reward orientation. So what is good for him? Because he needs the life of his wife. Then comes to the conventional level, that is the stage 3, the good boy, the nice girl orientation. Then comes the stage 4, that is the law and order orientation. So this is becoming more important, that is the law and order orientation. Then comes the level 3, post-conventional level. There are 2 stages, stage 5 and stage 6. Stage 5 titled social contract orientation, and stage 6 universal ethical principle orientation. So we have seen what is coming through this hence dilemma, that the different stages and how the responses are coming in each dilemma. So when we think of this dilemma, we can see that how a person is internalizing the moral reasoning. It is differing among the individuals. So this is an important part in Kohlberg's theory of moral development. And next point, what we are going to discuss is the influence of Kohlberg's theory, how it influences. Kohlberg's theory stated that these levels and stages, they follow a sequence and are age related, because we can see that how from the pre-conventional level an individual is passing to the conventional and post-conventional, and in each stage what type of thought process is happening or what type of internalization is happening in each stage. And he also stated that each stage thought process, they are related with the age of an individual. The individual's moral orientation unfolds as a result of cognitive development. When cognitive development increases, we can see that they are able to take a stand for their point of view, for their action. So adolescents construct their moral thoughts as they pass from one stage to the other. So here, the moral stance of the adolescents, they are depending upon the not only the external factor, more than that the external factor, the internalization is more important. And the next one, we can see that this theory is a description of progressive conceptions people use to understand social cooperation. So progressively, what type of thought process is taking place, how they are viewing their stand or viewpoints regarding a particular situation. If they are confronted with one kind of dilemma, how they are taking the standpoints. This is important in this theory. So we have seen what is important in Kohlberg's theory of moral development and how this theory has developed out of the social dilemmas. He has given some dilemma situations. So through this dilemma analysis, he has elicited the different levels as well as the stages of moral development. And when we compare Kohlberg's theory with Piaget's, we can see that Piaget also come forward with some kind of moral development theory, but it is not based on the dilemma situation. He has taken the cognitive development. Based on that, Piaget has developed the moral development theory. But as far as Kohlberg's is concerned, he has taken his theory based on the dilemma situations. So when we look at the moral reasoning of adolescents, it may be depending upon the punishment as well as the reward situations. So we have how we can deal in such situations as teachers or as adults. We cannot take the standpoint of the adolescents because they are not able to see the pros and cons of the decisions they are taking based on particular situation. So what is important here is that if an adolescent is taking a stand, instead of punishing them, we have to think on what basis that child has taken a particular decision regarding a particular situation. So here, whether it is based on the rewards or out of fear, it doesn't mean that he has taken the decision out of the internalization. So moral development is very much important in any cases that internalization is very much important for a person to develop this moral thought. So this moral reasoning and development of morality is based on one's internalization than the external thing. So hope that you might have understood about Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Thank you.
Do you wish to be part of a television studio like this or any other media system? Or already part of any media system want to enhance a new set of skills? Welcome to School of Journalism and New Media Studies. Here in the School of Journalism and New Media Studies, we are offering program for all set of people to learn and enhance the media skills. The vision of School of Journalism and New Media Studies is to generate a new set of professionals in the area of media and communication studies with understanding about role of media in the national development and global understanding. We offer innovative programs in the field of journalism and mass communication that sets the benchmark of high quality learning and teaching process at the national level. We offer these programs across the country with the help of our regional network as well as study center. Same manner, many of our programs are offered through online mode with a sophisticated learning management system. SOGNMS offers programs from PhD in journalism and mass communication till certificate level. We have masters in journalism and mass communication. The eligibility is bachelor's degree, and we are introducing this program in 3 languages: Hindi, Tamil and English. Students from national and international students can join either through online mode as well as in the distance mode. We have 4 postgraduate diploma programs, specialized areas in the field of development communication, digital media, electronic media and journalism and mass communication program. And all these 4 programs are available in distance mode. 2 programs are available in online mode, development communication and digital media. And we have specialized certificate program in community radio. IGNOU employs various media and communication tools for better teaching and learning process. School of Journalism and New Media Studies utilizes this media system for delivering all our programs. Come and join with us for exploring a new career and enhance your media skills.
Dear learners, welcome to teleconferencing session. Myself, Dr. A. Senthamil Kanal. I am from Faculty of Public Administration. In this session, we will discuss about BPAG 171 disaster management. In that, there is one chapter which is called rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery. As you all know that disaster is always a unwelcoming guest. Okay, nobody want to have a disaster. It always brings unpleasant memories, death, loss of livelihood, loss of infrastructure. So many things are used to be happen. As you all know that there is a three phases are there in disaster management. One is pre-disaster, during disaster, and post-disaster. In the pre-disaster, in the sense, pre-disaster, we used to see about the capacity building, and preparedness measures. During disaster, there is a relief, rehabilitation, all the activities are there, and then post-disaster phase, that rehabilitation, reconstruction, recovery also there. So in this way, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery are three essential phases in disaster. As if you look into that, after the disaster, we have got a relief material, we got a first aid, we got a food, and we have safely stayed in some places, we have accommodated, and so many things happened with the support of government, NGOs, volunteer organization, with our relative or community people, whatever it is. But after that, what used to happen? In that sense, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery are essential. These are direct consonants with the nature of the disaster. If you look into the location of the disaster, proportion of damage, direct and indirect losses, availability of human resource and local capacities, and available material resources along with institutional capacity. Okay, so when you are doing that rehabilitation, reconstruction, recovery activity, you first see what is the nature of the disaster. And what is the nature of the disaster, in the sense whether it is an earthquake, whether it is a landslide, whether it is a tsunami, whether it is a flood, whether it is a cyclone, whether it is a snow avalanches. Okay, so what kind of a disaster is there? And you have to find the location of disaster. Location in the sense whether it is accessible or inaccessible, or the remote area, or otherwise due to disaster we couldn't reach out to the particular locations, and proportion of damage, how much damage has been happened, and the direct and indirect losses. Direct losses, normally we used to say loss of infrastructure or loss of lives and all, but indirect losses, what are the happen, and how, what are the available human resources and local capacities, and available material resources, what are the materials are available in that. If you take into that particular, even if you look that coastal area is affected by the cyclone. Okay, so that if a particular district it has affected by a cyclone, so the district collector, what he will do, he has to first, he can't go each and every village or every place, but before disaster they have to make a plan, available human resources, what are the local capacities they have, and what are the available materials they used to have. So in that way, it is a rehabilitation and reconstruction operation provide the effective link and coordination between, it provide the effective coordination between the relief and the development. So once you can say, we can say that rehabilitation reconstruction phase, you can say it is a development phase. We are moving into the development phase. So it is kind of a coordination between the relief and development. So if you look into that, the time of reconstruction and rehabilitation after a disaster also, there was a development patterns for the future, and we are using the process to generate resources that will help the local populace to getting the access to economic rehabilitation alongside the reconstruction also. For example, if you take it to the earthquake, it will damage to the infrastructure and the building, so therefore that you have to plan for a rehabilitation, reconstruction should relate to the and buildings and all also there. So in this, first one is first one is that rehabilitation. For rehabilitation, to take necessary action after the disaster to resume the basic services. Do you have to resume the basic services, in the sense like, for example, after cyclone, after earthquake, after flood, we used to restart the essential services of electricity, water services, or any Okay, so resume the basic services, and we have to help the victim and compensate the physical damage done to the surroundings. And you have to start again what are the economic action and psychological support, and what are the social security measures you have to give comfort to the victim and all. If you know that in the during COVID situation, the government of India, the state government has provided the, that they have provided a rice or a wheat to the needy people also. These also one of the rehabilitation activity. It used to capacitate the affected people to restart the regular functions of the life. Okay, actually, this one is like it considers, yeah, it is a present time relief to the, you are moving into the long term development. That's what used to say rehabilitation is a long term development. Okay, so the main aim of rehabilitation is that to revive the victim to the normal life, or you can say that to bring back the normalcy, restoration of their life. So these are the things are there in that rehabilitation. There are four kind of rehabilitation is there. One is that physical rehabilitation, social rehabilitation, economical rehabilitation, and the psychological rehabilitation. The first, physical rehabilitation. Physical rehabilitation, what do you mean that? Physical means that reconstruction of physical amenities, such as, like, for example, damaged house, buildings, railways, roads, water supply. It may be affected by the communication network, electricity. So, like, for example, what happened during tsunami or cyclone, what used to happen? It used to destroy the railways, it used to destroy the road, it used to destroy the water supply, it used to destroy the communication network and electricity also. So we have to reconstruct those lifeline method activity, and also we have to make the strategy towards environment protection, employment generation, job creation, watershed management, alternative coping technology, canal irrigation, rehabilitation of animal husbandry, agriculture, farm implements, and fruit plant zoning. It is a kind of, that it is a holistic way of you have to look into all the activity. Not only you have to reinsure road, railways, and also you have to see the employment generation, what you can provide the people. Okay, and you have to create a job, and you have to create a watershed management, and you have to find out the what are the alternative cropping techniques, and you have to find out the canal irrigation, and you have to look into the animal husbandry method department also, and you have to see the agriculture and farm plans. So many things are there come under the physical rehabilitation. So another important one is the social rehabilitation. Normally we never give, normally when it comes to mental health, when it's to social, we always, that we used to give a least bothering about that also. Social rehabilitation is providing social support to the sufferers. Okay, social support means in what you want to say. Like, for example, when after the disaster, if you lost the someone, and if you lost your building, and if you lost your job, and you lost whatever, if you after the loss, what will happen? You will not only lost, even if you saw after see the horrific incidents, so you'll under the deep, deep kind of a shocks and everything also there. So in that, what you have to do, you have to establish educational committees that provide regular counseling to the sufferers, and you have to, we have to run the various program related to physical and mental health, and you have to start new stress management, nutrition and hygiene, etc. And you have to provide the daycare and, daycare and old age homes to the sufferers. And you have to find out that, like, wherever you find old age persons and women children, you have to give more important, and you have to setting up a multi-purpose community center that promote a self-help group, and you have to run the various programs which comes under the social rehabilitation also. Like social rehabilitation, you can say that social security measures also. Okay, then next one is that economic rehabilitation. Economic rehabilitation also, it plays a very important role to compensate the economic loss occurred due to the disaster. We'll see that what are the economic rehabilitation provided by the government in the later section. Okay, it involves, the government provide the compensation to the victim based upon the broad investigation of actual and future hazard, and we have to give trouble group, and you have to see current livelihood planning and business. Like, for example, you can see that if the earthquake happened, if they lost the business, normally people used to have disaster related migration also there. So people used to move one place to another places. So they have to formulate one kind of a livelihood strategy, livelihood strategy for the affected victim and all. So one of the most important step is that next one is that psychological rehabilitation. Okay, psychological rehabilitation is a more important one. It is more, it used to treating the victims to cope up with the emotional imbalances. As I already mentioned that if you maybe lost your loved ones, neighbors, and you have lost your livelihoods, and you may lost your buildings, and also you are all that time what used to happen, it is a deep emotional imbalances. Okay, so this kind of a psychological rehabilitation, it used to bring the norm that normal, bring back the normal to the life also. In that counselor used to help the affected and population, they used to give a counseling to them, and they will bring back the happy and healthy life and all. Like for example, during disaster what will happen, there are, they used to go by various specific types of emotional stages. Okay, that emotional stages you can't say that, like for example, if it's the student, they used to last the school, they some people used to last a certificate, so it always give a one kind of a, uncertainty into your life only. So that's what we always used to say, that psychological rehabilitation is the more important one, because if you are in a strong enough, that you can handle it in better way. So far we have seen about what is rehabilitation and types of rehabilitation. Now we are moving into the reconstruction. Normally, what do you mean by reconstruction? Construction is constructing like something, and reconstruction means to repair and re-establishes of all services like buildings and infrastructure, replacement, damaged infrastructure, and you have to find out the integration of economic factors also. It is a reconstruction is a long-term development plan to mitigate the or reduce the from future disaster for an appropriate measure. For example, if you look into that, what happened in the 2004 tsunami or Bhuj earthquake, they lost the more number of industries, they lost their buildings. So it will take a people that people has been stayed in, like for example in 2004 tsunami, majority of the people stayed in the kacha houses nearby in the coastal area. So they lost their houses during that tsunami and our disaster and all. So after that, with the help of the government of India, NGOs and various international organizations, they have constructed the strong houses for the people. So this way, in why they have constructed the strong houses, because it will mitigate them to affect in the future disaster also. But unlike relief and preparedness activity, this reconstruction, what used to happen, it used to take a long term plan. Okay, it won't happen, it won't complete within 6 months or 1 year, it will take a 1 or 2 years also. But once they have done it, once if you know that once you have constructed a house, it will go for a 15 to 20 years, they must be safe and also. That's what we always used to say, reconstruction is means that repair and re-establishes all services, and it kind of a long term develop also. Sometimes what will happen, damaged structure may not be necessarily restored in the previous form. It may include some kind of a temporary arrangements, and sometimes what will happen, reconstruction, build the rehabilitated system to safer standard, so that the future risk could be reduced. That's what as I mentioned, that instead of kacha house, they have constructed a strong concrete houses, so that if any future cyclone or any kind of a disaster, it won't make much impact. So the reconstruction efforts always aims at restoring the affected structure to a conditions equal to better than the existed before a disaster. It also, you can see that it used to construct the permanent housing, besides like for example restoring the basic amenity. Like for example, the restoring means like that you have to do repairing, that instead of that you have to restore full activity. So always reconstruction should pay attention towards activities like speedy recovery in the hit area also. Like for example, every disaster, it used to make a different kind of a damage. For example, when earthquakes, it damages the infrastructure and building of that also. If it comes to flood, it used to make a different kind of impact and also. So according to the disaster, according to the cause, we have to, that strategy would be differ from one place to another place. In the development, in the reconstruction, there are four type of infrastructure changes are there. One is that development of physical and economic infrastructure. And in the physical, when you talk about the physical infrastructure, you can say that reconstructing the roads, water, drainage, and electricity. So when you are talking about the physical infrastructure in relation to disaster, we refer to the nature of the houses. Like for example, if you look into that earthquake, okay, in earthquake you have to reconstruct the houses in a earthquake resistant houses. It's not like that when you are doing that reconstructing houses, you should have to follow all the guidelines and the standards which you have suggested by the government of India. In case of flood, it needs to be ensured that the houses are constructed away from the flood prone area. In case of landslide, it needs to be ensured through the away from the prone to landslide. So housing infrastructure need to be planned according to the environmental conditions of the region. For example, if you look into that, if you are again some houses are affected in the coastal area. So if you in the reconstruction plan, again if you are constructing the same house, same kacha house or whatever it is without following any plan, if you are constructing nearby area, then again it will lead to a disasters only. So you have to follow the some kind of a guidelines and standards which is suggested by time to time. And another one is the service infrastructure. Service infrastructure is like transportation, health, and education. And social infrastructure is like that primary health, or you have to restore the primary health care, old age homes, and community centers are the main components. And the next one is the environmental infrastructure. Environmental infrastructure like that, for example, to reduce the risk of the disaster, it is a it is an indirect way it used to provide that also. So once you have done that economic once you have done the physical and economic infrastructure, another one is the funding arrangement for reconstruction. So what do you mean by funding? That as I already mentioned, that how government, how they used to help the state or particular citizens and all. In this we will discuss about the various schemes suggested by the Ministry of Home Affairs and all. You When you are going to the funding arrangement, you have to go through all the policies available for providing funds and reconstruction. Sometimes central government also, sometimes state government also providing fund for like a reconstruction and rehabilitation. In that, first one is that National Disaster Response Fund, that is used to be called the NDRF. Earlier it used to call the National Calamity Contingency Fund. Yeah, now after the Disaster Management Act 2005, it has considered as a National Disaster Response Fund. It comes under the section 46 of the Disaster Management Act 2005. This fund used to cover the calamities like cyclone, drought, earthquake, fire, flood, tsunami, hailstorm, landslide, avalanche, cloud burst, or pest attack. So whatever it is, it used to cover under the NDRF also. Mostly NDRF, not mostly, it is to NDRF is mostly operated by the government of India for providing immediate relief to the people affected by the calamity, severe nature, and non-planned expenditure also. If you look into that, whatever it is, like for example, whenever you are affected by severe disaster, or if you are affected by the severe flood or cyclone, the minister and our prime minister or state chief minister, they used to do the aerial surroundings, and they used to send the central and the state government estimate committee. They used to see the damage, and they used to provide the government also. Before that, the once a disaster has been affected, immediately it used to be dispersed money from the National Disaster Response Fund. In the state level, the same way it used to call the State Disaster Response Fund. Earlier it used to call the Calamity Relief Fund, that is a CRF. It has come under the section 48(1) of A of Disaster Management Act. Normally, this SDRF usually expenditure for providing immediate relief to the victims of disaster. Okay, immediate relief to the victims of disaster, as I mentioned in the NDRF grants also. Like mostly the share of government of India to SDRF all shall be paid in grant in aid or accounted in the government of India in the acts only. So in this, another fund is that National Disaster Mitigation Fund. As per Section 47 of the Disaster Management Act, central government may constitute a national disaster management for project exclusively for the purpose of mitigation. So what you mean by they have mentioned is the word mitigation. Like, uh, for example, when you are earlier 19 before 1919, what used to happen? Disaster management means providing relief material to the victims. So once the disaster comes, then after that government used to provide the relief material, then as it is go. So now what happened? Instead of focusing upon the relief oriented approach, now we have started focus upon the preparedness approach. Okay, preparedness approach means we have ready to face the disaster, because as you all know that we can't avoid the disaster, but we can manage the disaster. For this purpose we have to be very strong in the preparedness activity, mitigation activity, and that's base, rational. The National Disaster Mitigation Fund for started exclusively for the purpose of mitigation only. As I mentioned earlier, the 14th Finance Commission restricted the recommendation to existing arrangements to the financing of the already constituted fund like NDRF, SDRF, only as per items of reference in that act only. So now we have seen the state level fund and central level fund and the state level fund. Now we are moving to the district level fund. Normally, district relief fund at the district level is based on the principles of the calamity relief, so that they are ready available, they are ready to use whenever the immediate requirements. Okay, mostly that's the district level relief committee is headed by the district collector or district magistrate or district commissioner, who would evolve the guidelines and the norms for expenditure to be made from the fund allotted for the rehabilitation at the district level and all. So now we have seen about the state, central, state, and district. Now we are moving into the MP lots. MP lots is, as you all know, that member of parliament local area development scheme. It used to call the MP LATs. MP LATs, it started in December 1993 under the first scheme. Members of parliament allotted funds annually to do the development work in the constituency. Some people used to see that here there is no word in disaster, and here there is no mentioned about how it will help the development work, like for example constructing roads, constructing infrastructure. If you are equipped with the more like a development work, it will improve the capacity of the people, and whenever the disaster comes, it will easy to access the people. So you always know that disaster management is not a particular activity, it is a holistic kind of activity. Each and everything is related to, or it will lead to a disaster only. So these MP LADs is for the development work in their constituency, and each MP gives a choice of work to be undertaken in the constituency to the district heads, who get them and implemented through the established procedure on the district through the MP LADs guidelines. And the next one is that Prime Minister National Relief Fund. Prime Minister National Relief Fund is started, that after the independence, to provide the immediate relief to the people. You know that whenever the disaster or any problem comes, the government used to say the statement that due to the PM National Relief Fund, they are dispersing grants to the affected population. Okay, mostly this fund is received from the voluntary donation from the public, and is to used to assist the individual, those who are facing the disaster and all. Sometimes these are the resources are utilized for the provision of immediate relief to the families, those who are killed in the natural calamities like a flood, cyclone, and earthquake and all. Other than that, we have a lot of insurance schemes also there, that is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, restructured weather crop insurance scheme, seed crop insurance scheme, and Kisan credit card. There are various insurance schemes also there. These will help the people to reback and rehabilitate them and immediately. So in this, that another one is that we so far we have seen that rehabilitation and reconstruction. Now important one is the recovery. Recovery is the process by, that which society or nation supported in turning back to the appropriate level of ensuring, ensuring disaster. Normally the recovery process, it will take 5 to 10 years. Sometimes it will take more than that. The recovery process includes, for example, re-establishing the necessary services, reconstruction of repairable homes and also other buildings, accommodate alternative housing, and measure to facilitate the physical and psychological rehabilitation of the persons, and also long-term reconstruction and, like for example, restoration of the building also there. For example, if you have a confusion on that, now everyone we can know that we are thinking after COVID the business was not good. After COVID, I lost the job. After the COVID, I lost the business. After COVID, I fall under the financial turbulence. So these are the things you used to be had. So in that you have to bring, this is called the affected population. Then how will they become back to the normal life? So that is to be called the recovery. It may be happened, like for example, immediate relief can provided by anyone, but in the recovery stage it will take 5 to 10 years, or sometimes it will take to the it will take to longer than more. So the post disaster always analyze should be in the part of the recovery process only. It always, this recovery process, it is to be more complex and extensive. Okay, it may be lead to a sometimes a multiplicity of the problem. Sometimes you have to change your planning also. So that's why the decision maker should be prepared to take flexible attitude towards policy implementation. Also, important to bear in mind that recovery from disaster opportunity to development also. Like for example, when you say about the recovery, you have to see what are the ground for recovery activity. First you have to identify the various aspects of the recovery mode, and you have to find out the defining the overall strategy for recovery. You have to bring back the suitable and potential national development, and you have to bring out the decision of distinct recovery program and the overall strategy, and you have to bring back the implement the overall strategy, and you have to bring back the overall individual programs, project, and supervise and coordinated basis also. For example, in the recovery phases, like it used to be differ from, like you can say that housing infrastructure, livelihood opportunity, and you can say that then health opportunity, and improve the mental health of the people, and improve the conditions of the elders. So it used to be various activity. It is a multifaceted activity, so you have to make a plan accordingly. It's not about that. If you look into that, you can see that Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal agency for the disaster management. There is no particular ministry for that, because they used to coordinate various activities. Like for example, if anything agriculture related, they used to take through implemented through Ministry of Agriculture. If it is education, Ministry of Education is there. If it is various other activities, so it depends upon the ministry to ministry also. And the same way you can find out the various problem in recovery also. Recovery program always used to be delayed because of that. They doesn't have a sufficient overall counter disaster planning. Sometime what will happen, severe and extensive damage used to be there, so it will take a difficult to formulate and recovery program also. And sometime we used to have a lot of disinformation about the disaster management affected site and all. So it's not you can't unify the recovery problems in one particular situation and all. It varies from situation to situation, and you need a strong governance, and you need a better coordination. It all, that's what we always used to say, it is a coordinated effort, and that disaster management. So dear all, we have seen about what do you mean by the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and the recovery. So, and how we have seen how these post disaster phase will help the people to bring back to the normalcy, to ensure the long term development also. The future session we will discuss about in another topic in the disaster management. Thank you. Thanks a lot.